Good morning, everyone. Connie Myers here, and I have got another incredible kick butt leadership interview with Amy Twiggs. Amy, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome, Connie. So glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Uh, so I'm going to ask you the same thing I ask everybody. Were you a leader as a child?
Okay, so here's the thing about leadership for me is it's not one of those things that I think about. It's just when you ask that question, my first thought is no, I wasn't a leader, but I went back and started thinking about my childhood, and I realized my childhood as far as the leadership goes is I wasn't worried about what other people thought of me. I just wanted to try everything. And I think because of that, because when I think about leaders, they always have they want to be somebody kind of in a role where people see them. That's kind of my idea. They want to be somebody who leads a group. And I wasn't worried about that. But if you think about leadership in a way of who are you becoming, something that I always became from a very, very young child, is I was always wanting to try something, whether or not people wanted me to. So I was always willing. And so I think the courage part of leadership is yes, was always something inside of me that I wanted to try flute. I wanted to try, and I failed all the time. I look back at the things I wanted to try, and I remember feeling devastated when I didn't get opportunities to try things that I wanted to try, but it never slowed me down. So as far as that role, yeah, I believe we all have leadership in us in some way. So
That's absolutely true. But a lot of times we don't even see it in ourselves until
you're right.
later on.
Yeah, until
Yeah.
you ask the question, like you asked, were you a leader? Well, I think every child wants to somehow make a difference in the world, right?
Right.
They just
Right.
don't know it
Exactly.
until they're older, and then when they're older, they're afraid to make a difference.
So what's something that you did as a child that you use today in a leadership capacity?
So I remember I think about this still now. I'm really good at doing anything. So if it's monotonous, I find joy in it. If it's hard, I find joy in it. If it's something that I think my brain wants me to believe I can't do, I always say, really watch me. So I like to kind of give myself the challenge of this is the most boring thing ever. Let's make it fun. This is the hardest thing ever. Watch me figure it out. So I think that's one of those things as a young. So when I was saying I remember um, I don't know, a first grade teacher saying who can write to 1 to 10,000 first. So I'm like, oh, that's going to be me. And I stayed up all night writing 1 to 10,000, right? Who does that? I don't know.
A leader.
I remember seeing somebody get into a special class because apparently they got some better grades. And I thought, well, I want to get in that class. And I did everything that I thought this kid was doing. Apparently it wasn't enough. I'm like, wait, why not me? And I was so confused. How come I didn't get that role? So I just worked harder in school because I wanted to always be able to prove to myself that I could do anything. So I played the flute like they had in fourth grade. They said, who wants to play an instrument? I'm like, me. And who has the right answer? I'm like, probably not, but I'll try. So I think
That's awesome.
yeah, I wasn't afraid of failure, and I just tried anything that came through the elementary school. I would just try it. Every time they said, who wants to? I'm like, please pick me. I like the little donkey in the back of Shrek. Pick me, pick me.
I love it. So you're an athlete. So tell us a little bit about how did you get into being an athlete, a gymnast, and all of that?
Okay, there's so many fun things. So I had scoliosis when I was young, and I still do. But my parents put my sister and I into gymnastics, and I remember soon after that we went to the doctor. My older sister, I'm the youngest sister of 7 kids, and my oldest sister had scoliosis. And they took me because they could see my back had a curve too. And the doctor said, well, you've already got her in gymnastics. Just keep her in gymnastics. It will keep her back strong. Well, by the end of the summer of gymnastics, the sister right above me that started gymnastics with me, she didn't love gymnastics. I love gymnastics, but I was afraid of heights. So I remember getting on the bar every time, and my sister right above me kept saying, Amy, just jump, just go. And she kept being my cheerleader. And I just gradually started enjoying bars, and that's where I was really afraid of heights. And I realized that once I conquered jumping to the high bar, it was just, I would do anything. When you were saying what's a leader, I remember I couldn't wait to get to gym. I didn't ever want to leave gym. I couldn't wait to get on the bars. The one thing I was most scared of when I first started gymnastics, and it essentially kept going because my parents were told to keep my back strong to prevent my scoliosis getting worse. So.
Wow. So you went to the Olympics, is that correct?
No, not quite.
No?
I was a year away. I ended up going to Stanford University. I was on the national team.
Oh, the national team, that's what it was,
Yeah,
yeah.
but the Olympic 1994 Georgia, that was the next year, and I ended up going to Stanford, which I was really grateful for. It turned out the way it was supposed to, but essentially that's the road I took, was to go to Stanford and finish my education instead of pursuing more of the sport. So yeah, I was on the national team. I loved it. Great experiences when I was 16, and it's a young sport. You get really, really strong very young, and you have to be very focused and dedicated. But for me, it wasn't about dedication or focus. It was just so much fun. And I know,
Your passion.
oh, I have athlete teammates who, I have one specifically, when she was done with collegiate gymnastics, she's never looked back. And for me, I still can't get enough of it. It's so much fun for me.
Do you still do it?
So I do things like handstands are just basic, right, Connie? Come on, we can all do handstands. You do those every morning, right?
Oh, yeah, right. You bet.
Splits, cartwheels, just fun things, cartwheels, back walkovers, just little things. I don't do big stuff anymore, but my daughter does gymnastics. I was a USAG judge, a sports commentator for gymnastics. I own a gym in my basement, actually. So I used to have 200 kids coming until COVID, but coming through my gym. So I'm still really a part of it. But right now I just help with the mental game of athletes in general. So,
Well, tell us a little bit about your book. It's Flippin' Awesome Gymnast.
yes.
I love the title. So first of all, how did the title come to be? And second of all, tell us about your book and why you wanted to write it.
So I majored in psychology at Stanford, and I've been helping with the mindset training for the last 22 years since I graduated. So for athletes, I was helping in the Arizona behavioral health care system for after I graduated from college for a while, but I was still helping athletes with their mind games. So I started doing visualization when I was 15. I started learning about the tools, going to a sports psychologist because I was having what we call mental blocks in sports, and I was just getting on the verge of being able to get to the highest level of that sport. So my parents would take me to a sports psychologist, and I started learning these tools, and they started working. I got to the point where I would have these moments where one of my favorite, and I talk about it in the book of the Flippin' Awesome Gymnast series, was being at the Delta Center, which is no longer called the Delta Center in Salt Lake, but it was a big center there, and I landed a pass that I was concerned about, and I had been visualizing it for 6 months before, how I wanted it to feel, what was going to happen. And I remember when I landed it, thinking in my head, am I laying down in bed right now, or am I actually at the Delta Center? Because everything felt the same. So the deja vu experience felt so real to me that I kept going on. And as you keep moving, you realize, oh no, this is me in the Delta Center. But because I'd seen it so clearly, I'd never been to the Delta Center, but I imagined what it would be compared to what all the other competitions I'd been to, where the judges would be, where the crowd would be. And it was just that. And I was wearing the leotard that my mom made, because my mom made a lot of our competition leotards. So it was exact replica of what I'd been going to sleep thinking about every night, and how my muscles responded. And then that's when I made the national team, was from that competition. So it was kind of exciting for me. So I talk about visualization in the Flippin' Awesome Gymnast series. And I talk about 15 tools, essentially, that I've been teaching for the last 22 years that are mostly sports psychology focused tools, and goal setting, and learning how to just 1, 2, or 3, 2, 1, go, those kind of tools where it's just a matter of conquering your brain instead of letting your brain tell you who's in charge. You tell your brain who's in charge. So that's essentially what the tools are in those 3 books.
Well, I have to tell you, well, first of all, kick butt is when mindfulness meets vision, opportunity, and engagement.
Yes.
And you just summarized that whole thing right there. I think visualization is so important. I mean, I've been coaching on visioning now for about the last, I'd say 8 years.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, when you can step in it and you're feeling it, and I call it sensorizing it, what it feels, smells, tastes like, and being able to be there. I always tell people, you cannot go to a vision, you have to come from it. So what you're describing is absolutely when somebody gets to the point where they can't tell for sure where they are,
Yeah.
that is taking visualization to the nth degree.
Oh,
So congratulations in being able to do that. And I imagine for an athlete, that's extremely important.
oh, well, what was beautiful is I teach it to all sorts of sports. And last year I was teaching it to a group of football players the week before they were going to playoffs, their first playoff game, and they were not expected to win. And the quarterback came off because I had him working on the visualization skills the week before, and it didn't take very long for him to get this experience. But he ran up to his coach after he made the last winning touchdown throw, and he came up to the coach after and said, "Coach, I lived it twice." Like he had experienced what he had just been imagining just for 1 week. And it doesn't take a lot of time for your brain, if you really want something, to attach the emotion. And I kept telling him to pre-decide how you want to feel once you accomplish this goal. And so to attach the emotion to it is what's exciting, because then you're not surprised. It's like, this is what I expected. And so I'm not standing on the floor finishing my pass being surprised that I did it. It's, of course, this is how it goes. It doesn't matter if I'm in my brain or if I'm actually feeling it physically outside my brain. It's the same thing. So
absolutely. I think I'd love when somebody finally gets it. I do retreats in Mexico, and I had this gal that she was an older woman, and she had lost her husband a couple of years before, and she's moving to Las Vegas. And so she was wanting, she had an RV, and she wanted a home that included an RV. And so I had her describing it, and I said, "So what does it taste like?" And she says, "Pumpkin pie." And I said, "What does it smell like?" "Pumpkin spice." And she put an offer on her home on Thanksgiving Day. So and I love when they go, "It works. It really works." I go, "I know it works."
Right.
You just have to be truly believing in it, and really have yourself there, like you're talking about. You have to be there, and be all around it. So you have 200 kids coming to your gym.
Well,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I don't really coach in my gym anymore. I'm just the one, like what my owner of my gym did. She was the fairy dust lady. She would come in and just sprinkle happiness. So that's kind of what I try to do now.
I love it. Well, I hope COVID will get over with fast so you can go back to doing that, because you've definitely got the personality for it.
It's fun. So
before we went live, you mentioned that you have a new book coming out, or a series, you said. Yes. So can you share a little bit of it with us for us, please?
Oh my gosh, I love the Flippin' Awesome Gymnast series. And this series that's coming out, since I taught these tools, like I was telling you, for so long, that I just put them in a book series just to get them into a place where people could have them. This next series, A Pro Mindset for Athletes, that's what it is. It's the mental and emotional health to help you dominate in and off the field. That's essentially what the book series is. And it focuses around emotional management. It focuses around learning how to separate what's factual in your life and what you're just thinking is factual. So what is actually going on in your life and what you just think is going on, and separating those in the first book, which is hopefully coming out in a week. Maybe it's 2 weeks, but we're hoping a week. If we can separate what is actually facts, neutral, there's no emotion attached, from what we think is going on, then we all of a sudden get our power back, because we realize we're responsible for all of it. It's not the thing that's causing us pain or suffering. It's what we're thinking about it that's causing us pain and suffering. So we just lay it out in that first book. And the second one, I talk a lot about what is an emotion. Let's learn about the cognitive science of it. Let's find out what's actually going on and how you can manage it, and how you can generate any emotion you want in any circumstance at any time. And we think life happens to us, so we like to take the victimized role. But in fact, we have the right to decide how we're going to feel and show up in any circumstance. We have the responsibility to decide how we want to show up in any. So when we get to action, we have the responsibility to show up as the best version of us. And whatever that best version looks like, there's no judgment. Everybody's best version in the moment looks different. And then we get the results, the relationship with ourselves as our life experience. So whatever actions we do, we get the consequence for our own life experience, the result, the relationship, the reward of those actions. And if we like the rewards, great. But if we don't like the results, that was our choice. So that's essentially.
So what's a tip if somebody doesn't really understand how to do this? What's a tip that you can give them?
Okay, one of my favorites is I saw a picture where it's like the thinker, with his chin on his hand, and I love the look, and there's no head. So it's headless thinker, right? And I think about that, how we kind of, especially a lot of us who are go-getters, we move physically with our body and we just kind of make our head go along instead of connecting our head to our body. So I love getting in touch with my emotions. I love generating the fuel beforehand. And the tip I would say is to stop for a second. One of the easiest ones is to stop for a second. You have so much stimuli coming in through the senses. Like you said, you create a reality in your mind through the five senses without actually using your senses in visualization. Well, if you can shut down those senses when you're trying to connect your emotions to your body, to your head, you close your eyes, you get away from all the noise, you try to really get in a space where you can just be still for a second. And being still is going to allow your brain to go, wait a second, am I actually feeling satisfied by doing all these things? Am I actually feeling enough with myself by continually moving forward in an area that maybe I don't feel connected with at all? I'm just doing it because I'm in a habit. And we got to break a lot of habits because we think they're important, but they're just not. There's so many things we do that I have a, on my mirror, it says, I don't have to do anything, because I don't. None of us do, but we think we do. And it causes us a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot of anxiety. But the truth is we just don't. We just decided that we have to do these things, or people are relying on us, or we can create an emotion in somebody else like disappointment, which is just not true. So one of my favorite ways is to stop for a second, connect my mind to my body, and just decide, is this what I want to be feeling right now? And if I don't like what I'm feeling right now, I'm responsible for that. If I want to change my actions, I can. But even if I do the same actions or not, I can feel good or terrible while I do those same actions. What do I want to feel? So I close my eyes and I get rid of the sensations all around me, all the stimuli coming in, so my brain doesn't have to filter all of that while I'm trying to connect with my body. And I just close my eyes and I breathe and I see how my heart is doing. And I try to go body scan from top to bottom with my head to my toes and just see where I'm feeling tension, and see if I want to just let go of that tension, or if I just want to keep hugging what we call, like, do you want to keep hugging a cactus all day, or do you want to let go of it? And move forward with those same emotions, right?
I love that, hugging a cactus.
Yeah.
So I love the way you describe that, because I always talk about, you need to stop and you need to breathe and you need to be centered again. It's particularly true. And through this whole COVID thing, I mean, all the Zooms I've done and all the conversations I've had so many people say, I've realized I don't have to do that anymore.
Right?
And I hope that when this is all past,
yeah,
that they remember that. What I'm fearful of is that they've said it now because they have stopped. Yeah. But when life starts happening again, where are they going to remember it? And how? And so I think your advice of making sure you do stop, stop and take a breath, and before you do something. And that plays a really important role when it comes to fear. I think fear, I suppose, so does an athlete, I talk about that, how, you can either take fear as a challenge or you can go into fight or flight mode. And I use athletes as an example, where they take fear, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they take fear and that becomes part of the challenge. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I can say that when I was an athlete, near the end, so like Beam is one of those events that most people are like, this is a make or break event. Either they're going to be confident on Beam or they're going to be shaky and fall off. I fell off one time in 4 years, and the one time I knew exactly why. But the thing about fear for me is its lack of preparation. When I went to Beam or when I went to bars, I knew exactly what my cue word was for every single move. So whenever it was time, whether it was a big competition or an inner squad, I just had to think of the next thing that makes that skill the best version of me in that moment. And so there was no fear because I knew exactly what to do. So fear comes in when I'm hesitant, when I'm thinking, I don't know about this. I'm not sure if I'm going to get what I want, the result I want. Then of course fear is going to swoop in, because that's the foundation for everybody, is that there's a threatening thing out there that's not going to give you the results you want. Well, if you don't believe there's a threatening thing, then there's no fear. And I don't believe there's a threatening thing ever. So there's really very little fear in my life. When I start feeling my stomach get the anxiety, nervousness, which I do wake up to anxiety every day, it's a little different than fear for me. Fear is a basic foundation for everything. Your brain wants to go to fear always, if you're not intentional. But the way that you get out of it is just making sure you're intentionally deciding what you want, so you know exactly what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're going to default to fear. It's easy. But if you know what you want and you know how to get it, Even if I don't know exactly how to get it, I know how to find people like Connie to help me get what I want. I have resources. There's nothing to fear when you have a plan. There's nothing to fear if you know exactly what to do. There's just no fear there. So there's always a plan for me. There's always, whenever fear tries to come in, I can feel it immediately. I know how it feels inside of me because I've gotten in tune with that. And there's just no place for it to linger anymore. So I feel like I always shifted over to hope. Like, you know what? I think I'm going to figure this out. And then I shifted to courage, which I told you, I think that's what I had when I was always like young, is I had courage to be okay with failing and realizing for me, failure is just not figuring it out yet. That's it.
Right.
I just haven't figured
I call
it out.
it course correction.
Exactly. So there's no problem with it. And when you're not afraid of fear, it's just not that scary anymore.
Right. Exactly. Well, Amy, so when do you think your book's going to be your series coming out?
So August 31st, I'm still just waiting for a little thing with an editor, but it might end up being on my birthday, 9/11.
When's your birthday?
9/11. That's the second.
9/11. Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
when it does come out, you'll have to make sure you send me a link so I can share it with everybody.
Oh, I will. Thank you, Connie. And thank you so much. This is so fun.
You're a delight to talk to. So we haven't actually talked about our book.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, we need to talk about our book. So I had the honor of being invited into this amazing group that Amy is a part of called Speakers Without Borders. And we had a book come out. It's been about, 3 weeks ago now? I think so, about 3 weeks.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, not that long. Leadership in Trying Times. And boy, is it appropriate for right now. So we each wrote a chapter in that. And what was your chapter on, Amy? I don't remember.
It's on making powerful decisions.
And what are the key points of your chapter?
So the key points, like I was telling you in my other book series, is essentially learning how to separate what you think is factual from what isn't. So we think with decisions that we're going to make a good or bad decision or a right or wrong decision. But what if that's not true? What if we just make a decision and go forward and we learn from every single decision? And what holds us back is what makes us, the mental fatigue is real. You get mentally fatigued when you're debating. You get like physically exhausted. You waste time, you waste resources, you waste opportunities, you waste connections, you waste contribution abilities when you get in indecision. So making powerful decisions, usually the reason why people don't make them is because they're afraid they're going to feel something negative in the future. Well, the truth is you're going to. So let's just be okay with that and make a decision and stop wasting time.
I love it. Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited because we're soon going to have an audio book of the version of the Leadership in Trying Times. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon. It made it to #1 in, was it 9? I think it was 9 different categories, business categories. Really amazing. So you can find the book on Amazon. It's a powerful group. I mean, the people that are in this book are just absolutely amazing. And so I'm actually looking forward to interviewing everybody that's in the book. So
I love it.
It should be fun. This should be a lot of fun.
Oh, so much good.
Amy, thank you so much for joining me. And I cannot wait to read your next book. I didn't get a chance to read your whole flippin' awesome gymnast, but I plan on making it through it all. So it's great advice.
Thank you.
So welcome and thank you so much for joining me.
I love being a part of this. I love being with you in the Speakers Without Borders, writing that book, Leadership for Trying Times. Like you said, it's so appropriate right now for everybody. And there's so many valuable points in it for us all to be able to be empowered instead of feeling like victims. We are heroes today. All of us are. And let's just create the life that we want, because that's what essentially the book talks about, is being a leader in your own life so that you can help other people. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it.
All right, everyone. Well, I'll be back with another great interview in my Kick Butt Leadership interview series. I hope everybody has a beautiful day, and I'll be back soon. Bye now.